Hey everybody, happy Friday. So you can tell it's started to turn a little bit more into fall weather because now it's hoodie weather again. And not that I mind too much, it was kind of the humidity was starting to get to be a bit much and now it's cooled down a fair bit. So today I wanted to combine two things. Usually I do the pickup video on Friday and I'm going to do that right now. But at the same time I kind of want to combine it with one of the kind of the thinking piece videos. So I'll do a little bit of both here and explain. So the title of this video is Have a Plan. And what I'm saying by that, when I mean that, is I'm trying to kind of counteract a lot of what's out there as pertains to the way the market has been going, and a lot of the craziness has been going with it. But and I say the word craziness because I'm kind of mirroring what a lot of other people use. It isn't normal, obviously, but at the same time, I don't really think it's that crazy in the sense that for large segments of the market, we keep observing some of these, rookies and the hot players and the vintage and things where like you're seeing these big spikes in price. But I still feel like there's large swaths of the market that are being affected less or not really being affected that much at all. And that's kind of the perspective that I have to look at it. But that's where the whole thing that I want to talk about as pertaining to a plan comes into play. Because if you have watched this channel before and this isn't your first video, if it is your first video, then by all means check out some of the stuff in my archives and also hit the thumbs up button. But if this isn't your first video and you've been watching for a while, you know that usually I do about every Friday or Saturday usually, I'll do the pickup video where I show you what I've been picking up. And that includes stuff for the collection, but it also includes some stuff that I'm hanging on to with the possibility of potentially turning it over and flipping it down the road or flipping it as I go. So I kind of operate largely as a collector, but with a little bit of that investor slash flipper mentality included into it. But that plays into what I'm calling my plan. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's a plan. That means basically that all the, you have to forgive me, some of the allergies are kicking a little bit as well. But when I'm talking about a plan, what I'm referring to is that I'm not buying things at random. I'm trying to be responding to the market, not reacting to the market. They both start with R and they sound very similar, but they are very different. A response means that I've at least considered already a little bit this possibility. That's where that planning piece comes in. So let me show you first, let me get to some of the cards here and I'll kind of explain what I'm talking about. So first of all, we have the stuff that is for your personal collection. Well, the approach you're going to take to that is very different than if you were taking more of an investment-minded approach. But you can also kind of balance the two. So I'm going to show you how that works. So first, let's look at some Medano cards, because obviously this channel, and you can see back there, and the team's still in the playoffs, so they've still got a chance to leading 2-1 at the time I'm recording this. So this is from 97-98 Pacific Invincible. So these are some of the parallels that are included in that. So that's the copper parallel. See if I can make sure that focuses well. There we go. And these are acetate cards with the see-through, you can see there. It's a cool looking card. So that's the copper. And this is the silver. There we go. You can get some of the shine on that. It's a nice looking card. And then you've got the ice blue. So let's do this. So that brings me to 1,490 different. So we're getting close to 1,500. And counting the ones that I'm expecting in the next week or two, we'll probably clear that. The goal for this year was 1,400, so we're actually doing quite well. So I'm very pleased with that. But that one, so for those examples there, that is strictly for the personal collection. That one's straightforward. Most people can understand that, they get it. But now I'm going to show you a little bit where I kind of blur the line between the two of them and explain a little bit, and I'll show you some other examples that hopefully will help illustrate this, while at the same time showing you what I picked up this week. So now we're going to take a look at a couple of Juan Soto cards that I picked up this week. So the first one is a lot from eBay, 4 cards, so I'll show you what these are. So this is from Panini Crusade. Those are just kind of neat looking cards. I like the design, and there's multiple parallels of this. It's just a neat looking card. Then we've got Donruss 2020. So this is the blue. Kind of a shiny card with some foil. Very cool. Bunch of parallels of that as well. And this is the base Donruss. This is the Diamond King subset. Again, several parallels of this are available, and I've picked up a few as well that'll be coming in due time. Also at ComC, I picked up a bunch of those. And this one was part of that lot as well. This is the 2020 Topps Finest. This is the refractor. We got some of that fun shine. Now, those ones are all going to go in a Z folio binder that I have for Juan Soto going. So those are kind of part of a personal collection as well. So, and they are. These are not expensive cards. I probably paid, I think for this lot, maybe approximately $2 a card, including shipping. So these were not expensive. And it's not like Juan Soto's not playing well, and it's not like some of his cards haven't been appreciating in value recently. We'll get to that again in a minute. So a couple more cards here I picked up as well as part of an eBay lot. So this one is 2020 Topps Chrome. This is the base card. There we go. Pretty straightforward. Nothing crazy there. And then this one's just a fun card. Not expensive at all, but it's a fun card. So this is the Bowman Retro Refractor. So based on a 1990 Bowman design, it's also a refractor. There's a couple different versions of this as well, but the base version is a regular refractor. That's a very cool card. So I've basically got a couple of dozen Juan Sotos. Now let me show you one more card that was in this week's pickup that also is going to take me seamlessly into that next section of what I'm referring to about the plan. So far, what you've seen is a bunch of different stuff for personal collections. And this one also kind of falls in that category, but this one also kind of blurs the line, and that's how it's going to take me to the next piece. So this one was a pickup this week as well. So this is from 2001 Bowman's Best. So this is an Albert Pujols rookie. So if you've been observant over the last couple of weeks, again, if you've seen my channel, you've noticed I've been picking up a bunch of these Pujols rookies recently. So this one is kind of a cool card. So it already comes with kind of a refractor design, and these are numbered to $29.99. Hopefully you can make that out okay. There we go. I have to kind of see the viewfinder. It helps me. Anyway. Okay. So all the cards I showed you. So those are the pickups for this week. So you already got the pickup video included in this as well. So the pickups for this week, though, they go into a couple different categories. And like I mentioned, there's a little bit of a blurring of the line, especially with the baseball part of that pickups. And the reason is this. I look at Juan Soto and Albert Pujols as two sides of a similar coin. And what I pick up from them and how I do it is informed by that. And kind of the way I approach it is also informed by that. And what I mean when I say that is I look at both of those players in two opposite sides of the same spectrum. I love what Juan Soto is doing as a young player. And with Albert Pujols, I'm looking at an aging veteran who is already kind of secured. He's already punched his ticket to the Hall of Fame. So if we take off our collector, so as a collector, they're fun cards to have, they're cool cards to have, and they're enjoyable to put together as a collection. Now, if I take off my collector hat and I look at it as more of an investor, and Albert Pujols is already, in my opinion, kind of a great investment still, because even though he's not as cheap as he once was, those cards, they haven't appreciated as much as they potentially could if he hits a few more milestones, or as he does the ramp up in the lead up to the Hall of Fame. All you have to do is look at other guys who are kind of first ballot guys that you knew were going. Like, you look at Derek Jeter and you look at that SP rookie that he had. It was available a lot cheaper in the run-up to the Hall of Fame. It's not like it spiked overnight. It did ramp up as he got closer to the actual Hall of Fame announcement. But you still saw that increase. And that's after years of having increased, multiple World Series championships, and all his accolades that he accumulated. How is that possible? Well, people kind of forget. Towards the end of a great player's career, unless they're like breaking records right up until that last moment, people there's a little bit of a lull there, because right after they reach those final stages and retire, most of the time they're not retiring on top, so they don't retire with a bang, they retire with a little bit more of a whimper. And when that happens, and another guy that probably is in that category, I would say, is Ichiro. So there's kind of a little tip for you. Just kind of bear in mind that some of these guys, Ichiro's technically already retired. So, but he's not going to hit the Hall of Fame this year. He's not going to hit the Hall of Fame next year. So there's still a little bit of a window of time. But people don't pay attention to that too much because it's not a short-term flip. So as part of my plan, I'm not thinking short-term flip mentality necessarily. Now with Soto, it's a little bit different because he's still a young player. He has won a World Series. This year the Nationals aren't great, so they're not really going to go anywhere. He had COVID-19 at the beginning of the season. But if you go look at a stat line right now as I record this on Friday, September the 11th, if you go look at a stat line, it's pretty good. There's nothing wrong with it. If he had enough plate appearances, he'd be contending for the batting title right now. In addition to showing power, in addition to driving in runs. And he's also been getting intentionally walked recently. People are respecting his power and respecting his hitting ability and showing that off. Now, if you compare him to like a Ronald Acuna or a Fernando Tatis Jr. right now, well, right now those guys are exciting people because they can also bring a little bit of the other aspects of the game into it. They're a little bit better fielders, and they also steal some bases and stuff, where Soto doesn't necessarily do that. But he might be the best pure hitter of the three. Personally, I prefer the pure hitters, so obviously Pujols is also a logical play into that. So there's not an accident. But again, that plays into my plan. So as far as the plan is concerned, Medano is pretty obvious. I've been collecting him for years. That's part of my strategy and when I go look for cards. But I'm looking at picking up his cards from a predominantly collecting standpoint. So what I do and how I approach it, I may be willing to pay more for certain cards than I would if I took it from a strictly investing mentality. Now, the difference in the investing mentality is you're also trying to keep costs down. You're trying not to overpay, as you might as a collector who's doing it for PC exclusively. But also at the same time, you're looking sometimes for multiples. So let me give you a couple of examples also that play into that kind of the Juan Soto side of the camp. So the Albert Pujols side is pretty straightforward. I'm looking for certain cards like that, like something like that, Bowman Best. I love the fact it's a numbered card. I love the fact it's a little bit more limited. I picked up a raw copy. Obviously, if I could get a graded copy, I wouldn't mind either. So I'd potentially look at maybe picking up a second copy or another copy of Flagship, something like that. That's kind of stuff. But also looking for some of those more limited options. And with Soto, I took a different path as well in terms of looking for some opportunities off the beaten path. So let me give you a couple of examples of that I picked up in recent mail days that play right into that category. So some of the obvious. This one is really very much straddles the line between that personal collection slash, I guess investment. But look at it this way. So this right here is the Juan Soto. This is an insert from 2019, I believe. No, this is 2020 Select. So this is the gold version of Sensations. The gold version is number 10. Hopefully you can see that. Let's see if I can help you out a little bit. There we go. We got it. So this predominantly is, so this one right here straddles that line very carefully because it is predominantly a personal collection kind of card, because it is a nice limited card. But at the same time, if his other cards appreciate, inserts like this, even though it's unlicensed, even though it's got all those things going against it, it would still have more value than what I actually paid for it. So I don't mind picking these up. They're kind of fun cards to have, and also they're not exactly bad cards to pick up. And if you look in the unlicensed category, you've got like his rated rookie. It's a cool card as far as I'm concerned. And I've already shown some of these off before. So you got the Prism. I like this stuff because this stuff was still available very cheap recently. And it's still not too bad right now. And this is the Hyper, so this is a numbered copy, a numbered parallel. That's just a cool looking card. And here's the funny thing, unlicensed or not, if his other cards start continuing to pick up, because they've already appreciated. And I'm going to show you an example where, unlicensed or not, we're seeing some of that appreciation. But when you see Flagship pick up, when you see that kind of thing happen, like right here, this is again a personal collection card, but it could be an investment card under certain circumstances, but I'll talk about this more in a second. So there's his Flagship. This is a PSA 9. Obviously, you'd probably be, if you're worrying about strictly pricing and everything, you probably want to get the 10 first, but I like having a 9. And I've got a raw copy as well that I probably will send in for grading. So I've got multiple copies of it. That's the quote-unquote investing side of it, having multiple copies. But I also got a PSA 9 because it's a little bit cheaper, because I want to keep that one for my personal collection. So that one stays in the personal collection side of it. So again, we're kind of straddling that line. But let me show you a quick example of, again, unlicensed, but we're going to show you how this works. So this is the 2018 Select Juan Soto. So that's the base card. And I've got 2 copies of that. I've actually got a couple more copies of ComC that I'll probably get shipped at some point. But this is the card that I'm going to show you as kind of my other example. So this one is the silver Prism from Select. So you can see it's a nice shiny card. It's fun. It's a fun card. It's a little bit more limited than the base card. It's a cool looking card. I picked this up for $32 at ComC. Did I pick that up last year? No, I picked that up in July, this copy. And the thing is, I was actually trying to get my hands on a few more copies as well. And I'll give you a quick story about that. Again, playing into the whole plan thing. You got to kind of think through a little bit. And I've done a fair bit of that. But to show you that someone who is experienced and someone who has a plan can still screw up and make mistakes. So I'll give you an example. I was actually looking for more copies of that Silver Prism. And I saw 2 on ComC. So like I said, I bought one for $32 in July. So I did fairly well. And I'll give you an example. I'll put on the screen in a couple of minutes here an example of what happened. And I saw, and there were 2 more copies available for $37 each. So a total of $74. And I was considering picking them up as well. And I thought, you know what, it'd probably be good to have a couple more copies. I think $37 is pretty reasonable. So I saw them and I said, okay, you know what, maybe I should go and pick them up. And it was late and I wasn't thinking clearly. Again, you got to be careful when you're following a plan. I should just hit the buy it now on ComC and just bought the thing. But you can make offers on ComC, which sometimes is advantageous, and I've used it to good effect. But in this case, I hit the offer thing, and I offered $35. I wanted to pick up the pair for $70. It was a $4 difference. It was relatively minor. But I woke up the next morning to seeing a rejection. And as soon as I woke up and looked at it, I realized almost immediately. It's one of those things like in a sitcom where everything like, you get like a pause and you realize where you screwed up. And I realized, I'm like, for $4, so unnecessary. So of course I went to look it up in ComC, and the seller had realized what the prices started to do on those, and it immediately bumped it up to $90 a card. So not only did he reject my offer, he changed the price so that it was $90 per card, where I could have had both for $74. Sometimes greed is bad. Sometimes greed is okay. Greed can be good, but sometimes greed is really, really bad. I could have easily had both cards and had them in with my other ones, and then figured out what I was going to do from there. So I'll show you here on the screen in a second an example of one of the cards that I was tracking. That exact card sold recently in auction. And as you can see on the screen, hopefully, it sold for almost $90 before shipping. So that card's already appreciated greatly. And that is an unlicensed card. And it's not a numbered card. It's not super limited, but it's definitely printed in less quantity than something like, say, Flagship. Again, this is a great card. And I'm going to do another video where I'm going to talk about, a video I saw recently where someone was giving some investment advice involving a lot of talking about high-grade base cards. I don't necessarily agree. If you're going to put your investor hat on strictly, I don't agree with the idea of stacking up a bunch of high-grade base cards, because there is more things that can go wrong than can go right. But as a collector, I want to make clear, collector hat on. There is nothing wrong with flagship base cards. And there's nothing wrong with high-grade flagship base cards. If you want it for your collection, by all means, go with my blessing. I think they're fantastic. And obviously, I practice what I preach. This is in my collection. I have no problem having one of those. But at the same time, you have to factor in that if you're getting a stack of them, they're probably not for your collection, at least not exclusively for your collection. Because having one or two in your collection, that makes a lot of sense. Having 10 or 15 or 20 copies, I have to assume there's a little bit of a profit-taking or flipping motive to what you're trying to do. But if you can stack up 15 or 20 copies or more, then so can other people. And if that happens, then you're competing with a bunch of other people who may be quite willing to undercut you on price when it comes time to sell. I'll actually talk a little bit more about this when I rebut that video that I was talking about. And it's a recent video that just made me shake my head, and I'm definitely planning on putting together a video for that. There may also be a live stream happening this weekend, so just to give you a bit of a heads up, I haven't finalized the timing on that yet. When and if I do, I'll do a little announcement video just talking about it. And I definitely want to have some more hobby conversations and talk to some more folks to bring some more voices onto the channel, because I always think that's beneficial to get a couple of different perspectives. But I hope you understand that what I'm trying to do today. So I wanted to do a pickup video, but I wanted to combine it with a little bit of a kind of a theory behind it. So I'll explain quickly in a nutshell. My plan: collect Mike Modano. That's what I've been doing. So I've been doing it for a long time. We continue that. I put in together a little Juan Soto PC because I'm enjoying him as a player. I enjoy him as a hitter. I enjoy that. Grabbing some Albert Pujols rookies. That, again, I enjoyed him as a player. I enjoyed him as a hitter. I think he's an all-time great. And no matter what happens, I'm going to keep some of those for my collection. But I'm also going to try, where the opportunity presents itself, to pick up some nicer Albert Pujols cards in the rookie card, some of the parallels and things like that, where the opportunity presents itself, because I think there is some value there still. Then there's some room for potential appreciation. And already we've seen some of that. But I still think there is potentially more down the road. But that isn't like in the next week or two. That is in the next month or two. That's probably a couple of years down the road. But I would rather probably have them in 2020 prices versus the future. The last point I want to make is that the whole reason I'm advocating for having a plan is that at least if you have a plan, like I mentioned earlier in this video, that means you're responding to the market. You're not reacting to the market. I hate reacting, because reacting tends to be knee-jerk. And if you're doing that, you're probably costing yourself a lot more money. And even if you're focusing strictly as a collector, that means you should still have a plan. In fact, as a collector, you should probably have even more of a plan. Because if you're an investor, you can try to kind of ride the waves a little bit. And while the market is cooperating, you can still do that. As a collector, you tend to do worse if you try to ride waves, because you tend to overpay. And as a collector, you're more inclined to pay more anyway, because you're putting stuff away for your personal collection. So for you, I strongly recommend having some kind of a plan. Can plans change? Of course. You have to respond. You have to, like I said, respond to what's happening around you. But you don't want to be reacting, because that's almost always turns out badly, and generally you'll make a mistake. Unless the market just keeps going up and like saves you. But you'd rather be in a position where even if the market doesn't necessarily jump up again to try to save you, you'll still be okay, because you still made some decisions based on at least some kind of a foundation or some kind of a sound principle. I've got more to say on this, but I'll leave the video at this for today. If you got any comments or questions, I'm more than welcome to keep the conversation going down there. There'll be more videos, like I said, upcoming in the channel. I've got some more stuff planned, and probably a live stream or two in the future. So thanks as always for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.